Right now, on the National Weather Desk, all eyes on Jamaica. Hurricane Beryl is set to make landfall on the Caribbean island later today.
As I told the kid, and well, but I told he knows I was show every day from 10 to 11.
Right now, on the National Weather Desk, all eyes on Jamaica. Hurricane Beryl is set to make landfall on the Caribbean island later today. You'll see the preparations underway this morning, the damage the storm has already created, and unique views of the hurricane from inside the eye and from the ocean surface. You'll also see how drones are helping us better understand hurricanes.
Plane's going 210 knots and you're just ejecting this thing.
And we'll help you better understand the cone of uncertainty.
Statistically, the track can go on either edge as well.
New wildfires lead to thousands of evacuations in California. An East Coast state faces a fruit fly invasion. And what you can do to help your dog feel safe during tomorrow night's fireworks.
You want to help create a safe space in your home for your dog.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
And good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Right now, Hurricane Beryl is a life-threatening Category 4 storm. And later today, it'll bring 145 mile-per-hour winds, up to a foot of rain, and a devastating 9-foot storm surge to Jamaica. Unfortunately, the time for evacuations is over, as all the island's airports are now closed. The Prime Minister already declared a state of disaster, as well as a nationwide curfew until 6 o'clock tonight local time. Jamaicans spent Tuesday getting ready for Beryl's arrival. Grocery stores were crowded as people stocked up on hurricane supplies such as food, water, and batteries. Within hours, many store shelves were empty. People also secured their boats and other outdoor equipment. Many gas stations also ran out of fuel. They are taking those actions because they know Beryl is capable of life-threatening or life-altering damage. Images from Grenada, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines show complete devastation with hundreds of homes destroyed in the storm. At least 7 deaths are now blamed on the storm, but officials fear that number will grow in the coming days. A sail drone about 100 nautical miles south of Puerto Rico captured these images of Beryl's wrath yesterday morning. It measured 25-foot waves and 61 mile-per-hour winds. At the time, Beryl's eye was still 95 nautical miles away. Sail drone is working with NOAA to study what happens on the ocean surface during a hurricane. And then there's the view from the hurricane hunters who are flying directly into Beryl. This is what it looked like yesterday inside the storm's very well-defined eye. As we've reported, the NOAA researchers and meteorologists on these flights are gathering data to help the National Hurricane Center not only monitor Beryl, but also help forecast future hurricanes. For us this morning, he has the very latest information from the National Hurricane Center. Brian?
Yeah, as of 8 o'clock Eastern, Matt, we continue to keep an eye on this. Not as well defined that eye here this morning, but still a monster storm here with maximum winds 145 miles per hour, gusting to 175. It is moving to the west-northwest at 20 miles per hour. So we get a little bit closer here. That means it brings it right on shore through the southern side of Jamaica as we head here through the latter half of your Wednesday. Then it puts its sights on the Caymans, across the Yucatan, and eventually into the Gulf of Mexico, where it could once again become a hurricane in the warm waters of the Gulf. We'll be watching this carefully for impacts as well, even on portions of Texas, South Texas, and the eastern coast of Mexico. I want to point out one positive, that one little wave off to the east of Beryl, now only a 20% chance of development over the next 7 days. Matt?
Thanks, Brian. Now, one of the things you saw in Brian's report was the cone of uncertainty. And by now, many of you are used to seeing those types of graphics in hurricane tracking. More technically, it's called the cone of uncertainty. Meteorologist Charlotte Carl explains what it is and why it's called that.
This is what I did my research on in my master's program, so it's something that I'm pretty well versed in. But the cone of uncertainty is a statistical mean of where the center of the storm is most likely to track. But that does mean, although we want to think that it goes in the middle of the cone, statistically, the track can go on either edge as well. That will be the statistical outliers. It can also go outside the cone. There's about a 30% chance of that happening. It's very rare. The National Hurricane Center is great at their jobs, but that does not limit the impacts to the cone. As you can see, if the storm were to take the outer tracks, it can spread impacts hundreds and hundreds of miles away from the cone of uncertainty. So that's why when we say, when you're looking at the cone of uncertainty, especially the further out we get in the forecast, to not only look at the center of the cone, but also to look at the alerts. Now the National Hurricane Center is overlaying all of the tropical alerts, especially for inland areas, onto the cone of uncertainty. Also focus on the proximity of the cone to your area. If it's day one, obviously our forecast will be a little bit better. And if it's laying on top of you and you fall outside the cone, that doesn't mean much because the forecast is going to be pretty accurate for at least the first day.
And more drones are being used to track hurricanes, and the technology being used is improving year by year. Meteorologist Emily Gracie gives us an inside look at how these drones are deployed into the eye of a storm.
You may think sending a drone into a hurricane is easy. It's not.
Planes going 210 knots and you're just ejecting this thing. It's a lot of stress, a lot of G-forces.
After Superstorm Sandy, Congress provided more funding for hurricane research, and that, shall we say, got the drone flying.
We were able to build a few of these drones, and we tested them in Ophelia in 2014, Maria, which was 17, that's the one that really devastated Puerto Rico, and then Hurricane Michael in 2018, which turned into a Category 5 right before it made landfall.
While drones were successfully flying into hurricanes, they still were not equipped with weather sensors. So Joe and his team put out a call to small businesses to make a drone that was up to the task of being dropped out of an aircraft into a tropical cyclone and take data from inside the storm. Black Swift answered the call with a 3-pound drone called the SO.
When we deploy these in the eye, we essentially go counterclockwise. We just merge into the eye walls, keep the winds at our tail, and we just let it push. The autopilots and the AI, the artificial intelligence that's being used to guide these is pretty remarkable.
With their technology and resilience, these drones represent just one of many cutting-edge tools enhancing hurricane reconnaissance and improving forecasting for the 2024 season.
The dream would be a sail drone's in there, right? We're in the eye flying. We see the sail drone. Then we look up and see the P3. And then we turn towards the eye wall, see that, and you see the raging sea below you. I mean, it would go viral pretty quick.
Now to dangerous heat. 120 million people live in areas with heat alerts today. And once again, the hottest places in the country are in the south and the west. But the hot temperatures stretch all the way into Ohio and western New York also. And in many places in California, the mercury could top 110 degrees today. In California, officials are warning the high heat could affect 4th of July plans. And as Leslie Val reports, when extreme heat lasts for several days, it can have major impacts on local businesses.
Extreme heat is the #1 weather-related killer in the United States. More people die from extreme heat than floods, hurricanes, and tornadoes combined.
Just days into the month of July, the scorching temperatures from June linger as experts say we still have several days of triple-digit temperatures ahead. Chief Meteorologist Miles Musio reports this weather can pose such a danger that people should consider changing their outdoor plans. For others who are required to work certain jobs, they'll have to find a way to work around the heat, which Aaron Hegde, economy professor at CSUB, says can impact our economy.
Employers have to also consider the safety aspect, which adds more cost. Monitoring it, complying with it, and making sure the workers are safe.
But if a worker falls ill due to the heat, it could also strain both them and the business.
They're not able to work. So either the company has to bear the cost, or more than likely, if they're an hourly worker, they don't get paid for that, not to mention the medical cost.
In the nation's midsection, there's a severe weather threat late this afternoon. The greatest risks are in parts of northern and the northern and central plains, as well as the Ozarks to the lower Ohio Valley, including Columbus, Cincinnati, and Dayton. Back in California, evacuations are underway as several wildfires threaten homes. The Moccasin Fire is burning in El Dorado County, that's east of Sacramento. And fire officials say it started at a home and quickly spread to nearby vegetation. People who aren't in the mandatory evacuation zones are running sprinklers, hoping that will help protect their property. Firefighters aren't just fighting flames, they're also battling that triple-digit heat. And thousands more have evacuated in Northern California as the Thompson Fire spreads. This is in Butte County in Oroville. Fire officials say it is threatening hundreds of structures and was 0% contained as of last night. And with strong winds in the region, Pacific Gas and Electric shut off power across 8 counties. The goal is to prevent those wires from sparking more fires. Now, here's something you don't see every day. West Palm Beach meteorologist Jennifer Collins posted this picture of a noctilucent cloud on her Facebook page. These clouds are unique because they occur in the upper atmosphere and they glow when illuminated by sunlight from far below the horizon. This cloud was visible just before sunrise. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how recent weather is causing a fruit fly invasion in parts of Maine. And we'll help you better understand something called urban heat islands.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. We have a nice day on the way in the Northeast with a lot of sun. Temperatures look pretty comfortable with low humidity. We're running the 80s for highs today. Notice a lot of sunshine out there. There is, however, a front to our west. You can make it out here. This is 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That feature moves into the Northeast during the morning hours on Thursday. So your Independence Day may feature a brief shower in the morning, and then the sun returns with elevated humidity. There may be an evening shower in New York and Pennsylvania.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Bailey. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. As we move through your Wednesday, it is going to heat up. Temperatures are going to still hit the mid-80s, but we're nice and dry until Thursday. We'll see a better chance of rain and thunderstorms to come our way. High temperatures Wednesday afternoon, mid to upper 80s here, but with the higher humidity, it's going to feel hotter and certainly going to feel the high heat as we move into Thursday. Temperature around the mid-90s, but the heat index over 105 degrees.
I'm meteorologist Vitas Reed. Here's a look at your southeast forecast highs for the day. We're looking at 97 degrees in Nashville, Raleigh about 91, Atlanta 92 degrees, Mobile at 88 as well as Pensacola, 91 in Jacksonville, West Palm coming in at 91. Spotty showers across parts of the southeast, but there'll be areas with plenty of sunshine. You see a few spotty showers, southern Georgia, Mississippi, and Alabama going through the mid-afternoon into the evening. We'll get more clearing through the overnight across the I-95 corridor and around parts of Atlanta and Tennessee.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, this year, Maine saw an unusually warm winter with a very wet spring, and now strawberry farmers in the area are seeing an unexpected consequence of all that warmth, a fruit fly invasion. Brad Rogers has more.
Maxwell's Farm and Jordan's Farm both posted notices Friday to let their customers know about the fruit fly issue, forcing them to close their fields for strawberry picking.
It's regretful that they had to shut down in Cape Elizabeth because those are two of our really good growers.
This particular spotted wing fruit fly first came into Maine in 2011, but farms typically don't see them in large numbers until late August or early September.
Strawberries usually escape. We don't see it in high numbers until we're pretty much done with strawberries. It's the people who are growing fall raspberries and late ripening blueberries that usually have the big issue with this one.
Maine horticulture professor David Handley is a vegetable and small fruit specialist. He believes the relatively mild winter, combined with an unusually hot June, led to the early rise of fruit flies in the greater Portland area. But he says fruit flies are spotty in other parts of Maine, where he says there are still plenty of good strawberries to be picked.
What are some of the things that they can do to sort of mitigate this pest?
Well, it's like any other fruit fly. It's really attracted to overripe fruit. So one of the critical things is really keeping the planting clean, getting in there and doing a good job of managing your harvest. Don't let anything get overripe.
Now, many of us will be having some corn on the cob tomorrow for the 4th of July, but have you ever heard of something called corn sweat? To explain what it is and how it can impact the weather, we turn to meteorologist Teresa Carter.
The corn's been growing, it absorbs a lot of water, but in order for it to cool down, it also has to get rid of some of that water, and it does it through this, a process called evapotranspiration, where the moisture in the corn is released from its leaves in order to help it cool. With that, of course, that causes the humidity to climb, that extra moisture getting in the air. So for areas near the cornfields, the humidity can climb, and that can cause the heat index, or that feels like temperature, to be higher as well if you live near a cornfield. And I bet some of you that do live right next to cornfields, you probably have noticed this, and you're going to notice it today especially. Did you know that the corn can sweat up to 4,000 gallons of water a day? So indeed, a lot of moisture getting into the air from what we call evapotranspiration or corn sweat.
And our apologies, that was meteorologist Sharon Ray. We talk a lot about lightning and how it forms, but what about thunder? What exactly is thunder? What causes it? Let's turn to a recent Facebook post from meteorologist Ryan Gold to find out.
Now, we all know that thunder comes after the lightning, but what is it really the sound of? Well, I'll tell you.
Lightning on average is about 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun, and that rapid heating creates the thunder. Now, here's a better way of looking at it.
Picture this bag as the atmosphere and my hand is the lightning. The air is floating around in this bag normally, but when the lightning hits the bag, it expands rapidly, creating that pop, which would end up becoming the thunder. Well, I'm sure we're going to be hearing our fair share of thunder over these next few days, as we do have scattered thunder showers and some storms coming in, but luckily, nothing severe. I'm meteorologist Ryan Gold.
And as we mentioned earlier, parts of the country will see extreme temperatures for the next several days. Oklahoma City meteorologist Jack Gerfin explains why it will be felt more in cities than in rural areas.
So your cities are always going to be a little bit warmer in the afternoon, but it's really more noticeable in the evening and nighttime hours. And the reason for that is that during the day, you've had the city absorbing all that sunlight into the concrete on the roads, the concrete in the buildings sometimes, and also just more buildings running more AC units, things like that, more cars. It's just warmer, and it's actually slower to release during the evening hours and nighttime hours compared to more of your rural spots there like grass. It'll actually cool off a lot faster. Your more rural areas will. So leaving this island there of warmer temperatures, and sometimes that island can be about 4 to possibly even up to 8 degrees warmer than the surrounding areas.
The 4th of July is tomorrow, which means food, fun, and fireworks. The yearly thunderous displays are exciting for us, but are an entirely different experience for our fur babies. Emily Gracie spoke with a dog training expert about how to keep them feeling safer during the celebrations.
Whether it's thunder or fireworks, anything that's loud and explosive in the air dogs have a much greater sense of hearing than we do. We also have to remember that dogs have a very strong sense of smell. So with the 4th of July fireworks, they're not just afraid of the loud booms and like the shaking that's happening, you know, in the air, the reverberation. They also can smell the explosive, the dust that's settling off the fireworks. So it's all of these different senses that are novel and scary. And when dogs are unsure of things, it's natural for them to be apprehensive, just like with people. But it's a lot easier to explain to children, oh, we're celebrating. All of these bombs in the air are for fun. For our dogs, we can't communicate clearly to them. And so through training, we can try to help create positive associations to these sounds. But it is very natural for dogs to be afraid. And so it's our job as their humans who love them to really do everything we can to help them feel safe.
Okay, so let's talk preparation. What can we do today? And then what can we do when we head out to enjoy the fireworks on the 4th?
You want to help create a safe space in your home for your dog. So whether that's a crate, an exercise pen, a bedroom, you want to think about when your dog is calm, relaxed, and sleeping, where are they most comfortable cuddling up? Do they like to sleep on your bed? Do they love their crate? Do they like to go underneath their bed? So I would create a space and I would think about giving them anything that's positive, mental enrichment to help give them something to do that has a positive association to the fireworks.
Let's say you're not even a pet owner, but it's the 4th of July and a random dog has shown up in your yard because it's fled home. What do you do if you find a stray animal?
Oh my gosh, that's a really great question. So I think we all have to be neighborly and really be conscious that there's going to be a lot of animals who may go missing. So look to see if that dog has a tag that identifies who their owner is. In that case, call them. Otherwise, you want to take your dog to the local shelter because they can scan for a microchip, or you can take the dog to a veterinarian. But you really want to do everything you can to unite the dog with the owner.
And that was just part of a longer interview with Laura that we have posted to our YouTube page. To see the full interview, just search the National Weather Desk on YouTube or scan the QR code on the bottom left corner of your screen. Now let's check on tomorrow night's fireworks forecast in cities across the country. We're starting here in Washington, D.C., where people will gather on the National Mall to watch the show behind the Washington Monument and the Lincoln Memorial. There is a chance of rain tomorrow night. Highs in the day will be in the 90s. The nation's largest show is in New York City, with fireworks shot from barges in the East River between Manhattan and Brooklyn. Rain could also be a factor in the Big Apple. Daytime highs will be in the low 80s. Let Freedom Sing is Nashville's way of celebrating the country's 248th birthday. There could be some scattered showers tomorrow, but they should clear out in time for the fireworks. Highs will reach the mid to upper 90s. And finally, return to Chicago, regularly considered one of the best places to see fireworks. They will launch from the Navy Pier along Lake Michigan. Any rain should hold off until well after midnight. Highs tomorrow will be in the mid-80s. It's time now for a short break, but first let's fly over beautiful Boston.
Well, a very good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. High temperatures in the mid-80s across a lot of the plains today, but a little hot out ahead of some of this rain with highs in the 90s for the Ohio Valley. More scattered thunderstorms for the day on Thursday, so make sure to stay weather aware as we move ahead into your Friday. It shifts a little bit closer to the Great Lakes in the Ohio Valley. Well, we're going to deal with sunshine and highs in the 80s across the southern plains and 70s to the north for your Friday.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Yeah, it's a little warm to start out today. Into the 80s, all the way back on up into Oklahoma. Even El Paso coming in at 82. We'll be looking for a little bit of relief in the way of a weak cold front and maybe a few little showers up through Oklahoma and into North Texas. Otherwise, it's going to be a steamy and hot afternoon one more time. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia, and that's a look at your regional weather.
Good morning. I'm meteorologist Rebecca Stevenson. Here's what's happening across the West. We have dangerous heat that is building up through parts of Arizona, throughout California, now into Oregon and Washington State. Temperatures are going to be burning up all the way through the end of the week and the weekend under high pressure and a thermal trough. That hot air mass taking temperatures in the triple-digit heat under a hot sun. And that is the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Take a look at these. These are what's known as shelf clouds, and sometimes they mean a storm is on the way. Meteorologist Evan Chikvara explains how they form.
We get into the summertime and you start to see these ominous clouds. I get a lot of pictures like this. This is called a shelf cloud. It's usually on the lead edge of a thunderstorm, and while it looks very, very intense, it has nothing to do with a tornado. It has nothing to do with anything tornadic at all. In fact, you get these creepy looking shelf clouds because in the parent thunderstorm that is back behind a very warm air mass, you get this cold downdraft. As that flows out ahead of a thunderstorm, you have warm air inflow going into it, and you get this shelf that forms out ahead of it. They look very creepy. If you see these, a lot of times it means you're about to get rain, you're about to get gusty winds. At times, these can bring us severe thunderstorms, but honestly, a lot of times you'll get this with every thunderstorm in the summer. Something cool to see, but it's a reminder to head inside.
We saw a lot of those pictures recently, and we'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and X. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us on the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. We leave you with last year's July 4th fireworks in Baltimore, Maryland. Have a great and safe holiday.